on your website, Mike Shoen for Congress, and it says we're going to be maintaining the world's strongest and most efficient military.
Yeah, well, that's a very important statement and a very important objective. You know, it's nice to be the strongest kid on the block. It's nice to be the wealthiest person around. It's nice to be in a position of power. I've been there, I like it. And that's where it's nice for our country to be in there. That's why I'm trying to maintain our economic strength, or reconstitute our economic strength. So it's nice to have the world's strongest military. So, but we can do that and still have an efficient military and still not throw money down the rat hole and give subsidies to armaments manufacturers and so-called security companies that are doing unnecessary work and surplusage work. So we want to be, we're in a position of military dominance. We want to stay there. But we're in such uber dominance today, such overkill, that it is insane. And we are actively out there through our intelligence organizations out there creating threats so that we can have everyone scared of the boogeyman. Do you remember the time when we were supposed to wrap our houses in saran wrap or whatever with duct tape? That was just rampant stupidity. Do you remember when we had the red alerts and the orange alerts and the yellow, but we don't know any of that means? Well, you know, let's look at this practically speaking. Doesn't it make sense that we'd have enemies if we invaded someone else's country? We bombed them, we embargoed them, we imprisoned, we tortured their citizens. What if somebody came over to our country and they embargoed us so that 500,000 of our kids died, like the kids died in Iraq during the 90s? What if somebody invaded our country and bombed the heck out of our cities? Okay, what if somebody shot a bunch of Du-238 depleted uranium ordnance into our cities and left all sorts of toxic waste behind? You and I would be pretty upset. Any guy out there who's sitting there listening to me speak and watching me speak, who has any gumption at all, if some other foreign country did to our country what we've done to Afghanistan or to the citizens of Iraq, you, sir, you gentlemen out there would be, if you had any gumption at all, you would be opposing that invader to the extent you could, whether it was through armament or through helping people with armament or some other means. You would oppose them. So it's understandable that we have a lot of enemies in the world and we have a lot of need for security because we're out there creating that need. That's crazy what we're doing. You know, my dad told me, and my dad was an extraordinarily successful and really legendary entrepreneur, and he created a lot of wealth. And he said, Mike, he said, I cannot afford a single enemy. And my dad had two enemies, and they brought him down. We originally told Afghanistan we're going to invade them in 2001. Do you remember what the response was? They said, well, give us some sort of evidence that bin Laden was involved, and we'll hand him over.
He still isn't even on the FBI most wanted for that particular, for the bombing of the World Trade Center, or not the bombing, but the...
For the 9/11 attacks. But, and then you'll recall that if you YouTube Fatty bin Laden, that's F-A-T-T-Y, bin Laden, you'll find the video that you and I saw in late September of 2001, where some guy dressed up like bin Laden says, yeah, and he's there with this dirt floor and he's saying, yeah, our soldiers did real good, we killed a lot of people in the World Trade Center. And that was supposed to be the confession of bin Laden. Well, if you look at that tape today, you can see it's not bin Laden. It's a guy's a lot heavier and he has a different looking face. It's not bin Laden. You look at it, I'll bet you that there's no one going to call me and say, Mike, you were wrong. I've never found a person who didn't agree that that is not bin Laden. So we don't have a confession there. What we do have is two newspaper articles in Pakistan at the end of September 2001 where bin Laden says, I didn't do it, but I think I know who did. That's what he said. This matter needs to actually be investigated in front of the American people. It's a serious thing. It's this occurrence of 9/11 is the reason we're racing around, throwing money away and lives and making more enemies in Afghanistan. It's the reason we have this debacle in Iraq. According to a Nobel economist who's a Nobel Prize winner, his name is Stiglitz, wrote a book called The $3 Trillion War. He has recently revised that to say that the Iraq War is going to cost us closer to $4 trillion. And in the book he says the Iraq and the Afghan war together are going to total about $7 trillion. So that's now revised upwards to $8 trillion. So we got to have a good reason to do that. Now, I'd also like to go back to this issue of waste in the military. If you YouTube the words Rumsfeld 2.5 trillion. No, it's Rumsfeld 2.3 trillion, excuse me. YouTube that. You'll get, and I'm not making this up because you'll find this on YouTube, you'll see Donald Rumsfeld, I'm not making this up, on September 10, 2001, saying that the Government Accounting Office has told us that we have lost 2.3 trillion with a T dollars, and we're going to find it. They don't know where the 2.3 trillion dollars were. Then if you...
That was the part of the Pentagon that was was hit, was the accounting department.
That's right.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, the civilian accounting department that was supposedly trying to analyze where that money was. Now, if you also go onto YouTube and you YouTube the words Rumsfeld, then McKinney, capital MC, capital Kinney, you'll find Representative McKinney in about 2004 trying to cross-examine or examine Donald Rumsfeld in a House hearing, and about this very matter, the 2.3 trillion and an additional 1.1 trillion that the GAO also found was not accounted for. Trillions, I'm talking about. And at that time, you can see that Donald Rumsfeld is successfully evading having to answer any questions and sort of snickering. Now, that's on YouTube, and that is one element or one dimension of the problem of this, the waste and misdirection of the military-industrial governmental complex. They probably gave Rumsfeld a medal for that.